Kazakhstan has broken ties with Russia. Moscow did not see this coming. Tokayev is pushing through and hits Putin painfully right in the back. A shocking and dramatic turn of events. The Kremlin is melting before our eyes. Russia's allies are falling away one by one. Ukraine is now in a total winning position. Is Astana really becoming a powerful ally of Kyiv and preparing to strike at the Russian capital? More about this in the segment Watch Next.
Ukrainian President Zelensky and Kazakh President Tokayev met in New York for the first time since 2019. On the sidelines of the UN Assembly, Tokayev stated that it is time to sit down at the negotiating table, although he did not directly condemn Russia.
Kazakhstan is deeply concerned about the crisis around Ukraine, which continues to inflict serious harm on civilians, undermine global trust, and weaken international security. Nevertheless, it is necessary to continue bilateral and international diplomatic efforts to resolve this conflict.
Kazakhstan seems to maintain its neutrality on the issue of the Russian-Ukrainian war and offers its mediation services.
Kazakhstan initially offered its services as a possible mediator and only as a venue for negotiations between the two opposing sides. That position has not changed.
But as they say, the devil is in the details, and there are many details in Kazakhstan's relations with both Russia and Ukraine. For example, Kazakhstan refused to cooperate with Moscow on building a nuclear power plant. China will build them instead. Also, according to Kazakh authorities, they are preventing Russia from circumventing Western sanctions. Well,
we are taking measures to ensure that our territory is not used to bypass these sanctions. Various comprehensive measures are currently being taken, including the meticulous tracking of goods, advanced online tracking systems for goods, and even the dedicated creation of a specialized website where you can thoroughly check whether a particular company or individual trader possesses certain sanctioned goods within their inventory. I believe that all our diligent exporters are fully aware of these regulations and accordingly consistently comply with them.
And President Tokayev stated that he does not recognize the legitimacy of the so-called LNR and DNR.
We do not officially recognize the independent status of Taiwan, Kosovo, South Abkhazia, South Ossetia, or indeed Abkhazia itself. And, in all likelihood, this fundamental principle will be consistently applied to the corresponding quasi-state territories, which, in our considered view, are specifically Luhansk and Donetsk, both regions currently experiencing significant geopolitical complexities.
Of course, Russian politicians and propagandists cannot tolerate such audacity and regularly threaten Kazakhstan with war, claiming the same things they said about Ukraine, that these are supposedly originally Russian territories.
If we don't resolve the issue with Ukraine, we'll have problems with Kazakhstan, with Armenia, and with other countries that surround us. With Kazakhstan? Well, of course. Why? We'll just look at what's happening in Kazakhstan today, in terms of building some kind of Kazakh state, how national mythology about independence is flourishing, about the switch to the Latin alphabet. There's a lot of interesting things going on there. But if you get involved like that...
The situation in Ukraine is clearly reflected in Kazakhstan. There are also huge regions there populated by Russian speakers.
Some people in Kazakhstan believe that in the long run, we want to, as they say, follow the Ukrainian scenario and take northern Kazakhstan from them. What do you think? Did we have such plans if we had the means for it?
I believe that we have historical rights to those lands. These are industrial regions. These are cities that were built by our ancestors. Why did we give them away in '91? On what basis?
Because of this, a list was created in Kazakhstan of Russian citizens who are banned from entering Ukraine. This list includes about a dozen Russian state deputies, as well as Tina Kandelaki, the ideologist of the Russian world Dugin, and the late husband of propagandist Simonyan.
Kazakhs, my dear brothers, what kind of profound ingratitude is this truly? Please take a very good look at the situation in Ukraine. Think about it seriously. If you truly believe that you can continue to be so incredibly sly and cunning, and that absolutely nothing negative will ever happen to you as a consequence, then you are gravely mistaken.
President Zelensky has repeatedly stated, citing intelligence data, that Russia has military plans for Kazakhstan.
Yes, we have indeed received confirmed information that among their primary priorities are the sovereign Baltic countries, as well as the Republic of Moldova and the nation of Kazakhstan. These are the nearest targets of the Russian Federation.
The president of Kazakhstan stated that he would put an end to attempts at separatism, while Kazakh deputies went further and laid claims to territories that are currently part of Russia.
We, as responsible citizens, must respond to any manifestations of radicalism, extremism, and separatism. Be delicate and at the same time firm, and ultimately be fair.
We need to understand that Novosibirsk is not Novosibirsk, it's Novy Sobir. These are our Kazakh territories. Tyumen is Tyumena, it's the southern lands of the Golden Horde. That is, even beyond Tyumen, further north, those are also our territories. Orenburg is not Orenburg, but Orenburg. And when the capital of the Kazakh state was there
was also a lot of different information from intelligence. For example, that Putin demanded Tokayev supply weapons for the war with Ukraine, and after Ukrainian drone attacks on oil refineries, he begged Kazakhstan for gasoline. At the same time, Putin constantly humiliatingly mixes up Tokayev's patronymic, and apparently does it on purpose.
Everyone knows, of course, that the president of Kazakhstan, Kamyar-Jamache Tokayev, appealed for help to the members of the Collective Security Treaty Organization.
Kamyar-Jamache was speaking. We believe Kamyar-Jamache, it's good to see you here. Kamyar-Jamache said that there are about 27 million.
We firmly and truly believe, Kamyar-Jamache that this is a truly crucial and significant point.
Putin's plan was to draw Kazakhstan into the so-called Union State following the example of Belarus, but he failed. Tokayev only rejected such proposals 8 times.
Recently, the president of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Gorchenko, suggested that Kazakhstan should join the Union State. I took it as a witty joke. I think there is no need for this, since there are other integration associations here, primarily the Economic Union. As for the nuclear umbrella, we don't need it.
Even those who seem to be Russia's closest allies understand that it's impossible to trust terrorists and murderers, so it's necessary to keep them at a distance and, if possible, support those who oppose them.
A harsh blow to the Kremlin. The French authorities have detained a tanker from Russia's shadow fleet. It seems that this is exactly where the enemy was launching drones towards the Danube. Finally, Putin is having the valves tightened on him. Devious plans are going under. This is a historic moment. A slap in the face that could be the final one. Will Russian terror in Europe finally end now, or will the occupier once again find cunning loopholes? All this in just a moment.
History has never seen anything like this before. French special forces stormed a tanker from Russia's shadow fleet, which may be connected to the drone incidents that have recently been recorded on the Danube since the vessel was passing along both banks. The day before, French TV channels showed footage of the French Navy detaining the tanker Boracay along with 2 crew members. This was also confirmed by the Prime Minister of France, Sébastien Lecornu. The international agency Reuters reported that this crude oil tanker, sailing under the flag of Benin, left the Russian port of Primorsk on September 20th. It passed through the Baltic Sea near Denmark before entering the North Sea and heading through the English Channel. I suspect that this vessel not only belongs to the Russian shadow fleet, but that drones could have been launched from it against the territory of European countries. Currently, the French authorities have launched an investigation into the vessel Boracay, which sails under the flag of Benin, and for several days now, the tanker has been anchored off the Atlantic coast of France near Saint-Nazaire. Meanwhile, President Emmanuel Macron at the EU summit in Copenhagen told journalists that an investigation into the Russian shadow fleet tanker is indeed underway due to serious violations. However, Macron refused to confirm information about the vessel's connection to the recent drone incidents in European countries, saying that he would be very cautious on this matter. Western media claim that the tanker, built in 2007, is 244 meters long and has repeatedly changed both its name and its flag. Previously, it was registered in Gabon, the Marshall Islands, and Mongolia. The vessel has already repeatedly participated in Russian oil trade and is under sanctions not only from the EU, but also from Canada, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Switzerland. EU leadership stated that the detained vessel used irregular and risky shipping methods, allegedly encountering drone launches. The United Kingdom went even further in its statements. British officials claimed that the Boracay vessel was involved in activities whose purpose or consequence was the destabilization of Ukraine for profit or to support the Russian government, while transporting oil to a third country. However, at present, as investigative journalists write, there is no irrefutable evidence that would allow Moscow to be officially accused. So far, the Kremlin has not commented in any way on the actions of the French authorities regarding the detention of the oil tanker. Perhaps they are still recovering from the shock.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
The Czech Republic is strengthening Ukraine's arsenal. Arms supplies and production have been ramped up to the maximum. The logistics corridor is functioning and ammunition is being delivered to the front. This could turn the tide of events. The Allies have united like never before. A joint strike against Putin's military might is a decisive moment. So, what will ultimately defeat the enemy? Weaponry or the combined strength of the entire West? All the details are in the following report.
Ukraine and the Czech Republic are creating their own Ramstein. Our country's goal is to deepen this cooperation by signing an intergovernmental agreement and a support program for affected enterprises. The industrial Ramstein, as noted by Ukraine's Minister of Economy, Environment and Agriculture, Oleksiy Sobolyev.
Not only the Czech defense industry, but also the political leadership of the country at the moment in what are called Czech initiatives is a key element in providing material and technical support to Ukraine's defense forces.
These are the facts, HGAT. For the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, Ukraine is a priority country for transformational cooperation, a country of special focus within the framework of Czech development cooperation, and a beneficiary of humanitarian aid.
At the moment, under the Czech initiative, around 2 million artillery shells have already been delivered. This has significantly strengthened the capabilities of Ukraine's defense forces, both in the immediate and in the ongoing struggle, and accordingly has led to concentrated depletion in certain strategic areas, as well as corresponding concentrated depletion in certain strategic areas. The Czech Republic, a steadfast ally, has generously supplied Ukraine with a substantial arsenal, including around 70 T-72 M1 main battle tanks, more than 140 armored infantry fighting vehicles, multiple powerful rocket launcher systems, and an impressive quantity of approximately 4.5 million rounds of ammunition. This comprehensive aid package specifically encompasses vital shells for various artillery systems and rockets, in addition to a significant supply of small arms ammunition, all crucial for their ongoing defense efforts.
Despite the war in Ukraine, 220 Czech companies remain in operation. Also, as part of the cooperation, Ukraine plans to provide the Czech Republic with a list of the necessary industrial equipment needed by enterprises that have suffered as a result of military actions.
In addition, this includes the production of artillery shells. That is, these are the enterprises that remained on the territory of the Czech Republic and are still within the framework of the former Warsaw Pact. And considering that about 70% of the armament of the Ukrainian armed forces is still of Soviet origin, this assistance is invaluable. Support provided.
Within the framework of the Czech initiative, the processes of procurement and delivery of ammunition are being optimized. The historical memory of the Czech people remembers well the disaster that Russia can bring to foreign lands. That is why the Czechs support Ukraine, which is now fighting against the aggressor, preventing the Russians from seizing both their own country and Europe.